I don't believe that balance exists. I believe it's wholeness.
I'm whole to begin with, but I have work to do.
Wholeness to me is being able to be your own bridge to your heart, through your heart.
I want to announce a great class that I'm going to begin in mid-September. It is going to be Tuesday and Thursday mornings. And if I get a request for an additional class, I can do one in the evenings. So let me know if that interests you. This class is going to be called Strive to Thrive. And I wanted to talk about it here because the things that we talk about in this episode are going to be some of the things that we look at and explore in the class. I will be with you. I will be supporting you. There is a 62-page workbook that we're going to work through to really understand who we are, where we have come from, where we are in the moment, what really is, and where we want to go. This class is healing and so empowering. By the time you are done, you will have such motivation to move forward in your life, and I'm really excited to present it. So I will put a link in the show notes. I hope that you will join me from wherever you are around the world. Today, we begin to explore Erik Erikson's work. Erik Erikson, a prominent psychologist and psychoanalyst, proposed a groundbreaking theory of psychosocial development that spans across the entire lifespan. Now, this episode is going to be a tongue twister for me. Psychosocial. It's going to be hard, but the information was so empowering to me as I looked at this and learned. It's almost like a roadmap to see what's missing in people's lives and what needs to happen in order for their healing to develop and to come about. Erikson's theory outlines 8 distinct stages, each characterized by a unique developmental task and psychological conflict. In this episode, we will dive into Erikson's stages of development, provide examples to illustrate each stage, and present data that incorporates insights and experts in the field. It is important to note that each of these stages builds upon another. So when we understand these, and when we know that with these developmental stages are not met, individuals may face various challenges and difficulties in their psychological and social development. Each stage presents a crisis we must overcome in some sense. And when that doesn't happen in childhood, there is most likely a larger crisis in adulthood. I think when we have these stages as a reference, we can better understand our wounding and, of course, see where wounding happened in childhood. It's fascinating, and yet sometimes a little painful as we face some of the truths of our childhood. And it's not an excuse to just be angry with our parents. That's not the point. It's understanding. In fact, sadly, I think many in our society have these wounds because until the 80s, when outside stressors were just beginning to be understood that they impact our life, healthy parenting was not encouraged. Most common parenting included authoritarian parenting, where parents were expected to be strict and enforce strict discipline. Parents often emphasized obedience and conformity and punishment, including physical discipline, which was considered acceptable and even encouraged. And I know some of you might think that that's not all the way wrong, but as we go through this, you can just see how, if we really want to work with how humans develop, maybe there's another way. The other kind of parenting that was clear was there was a distinction between the adult world and the child's world. Children were expected to be seen and not heard, and their opinions or emotions were often disregarded or minimized. There's a new children's show called Bluey, and I've watched a couple episodes with it, and when I watch it, I love it, and I have a tinge of pain as I watched it because the whole show, every episode that I have seen at least, is all about the parents in full play and imagination with their kids. And I could see how that wasn't a value as I was raising my own children. Of course, we had fun together, and I think we did some things together, but I think I always stayed in that parental role and made sure they understood they were in the child role. And in this show, that kind of blends. They become partners and friends in this imagination for just a few minutes a day even. I wish I could see how that would be so helpful, how that would be so developmentally correct for children at that age. So again, combining the children's world and the adult world sometimes is important, but it wasn't a value. Also, parenting existed with strict traditional gender roles. So rigid expectations for boys and girls. Boys were encouraged to be strong and independent and assertive, while girls were expected to be nurturing, passive, and very domestic. Toys, activities, and even clothing were often segregated by gender. Another thing that was different in parenting was that we disciplined differently for boys and girls. Boys were often subjected to harsher physical discipline, as it was believed that it toughened them up, while girls were more likely to receive verbal reprimands or shaming. I think that still happens. And I hope episodes like this can be a catalyst for us to make change. Also, emotional expression was parented or disciplined, especially for boys. They were often discouraged or viewed as signs of weakness to be emotional. Children were expected to suppress their emotions and conform to societal norms or emotional restraint. Parents also held unquestionable authority, and there was less emphasis on open communication or negotiation. Children were expected to comply with parental demands without questioning them. And I know some of you are saying, yeah, that's the way it should be. And I'm glad you're here, because the data just says something different. The data just shows us what a human needs for development. And then we expect them to have full development without giving them the developmental tools. And it's just a small shift. We don't let the kids run wild, but we just understand where they're at certain stages and what's required of them, what crisis they're hitting, and we help them meet it. That's it. And then when they develop that stage, then they're even more empowered, or even empowered at all, to meet the crisis of the next stage. Remember, they build upon each other. But some parents in the past and currently have adopted a more hands-off or uninvolved approach to parenting, often delegating child-rearing responsibilities to other family members or assuming that the children would learn and develop independently. It's vital to note here that this registers to the nervous system no differently than abuse. Timeout, punishment, and anger are still the most acceptable forms of parenting, and yet, depending on the stage of development, could be causing harm. So let's look through these stages. Stage 1, which happens between the ages of about 0 to 18 months, usually infancy, they'll say in general. And it's shocking to know that in each of these stages, we either learn one thing or the other. So in this stage, in the tender age of 0 to 18 months, we will learn to trust or mistrust. Trust is built or lost through the type of care, comfort, and face-to-face emotional attunement. During the first year of life, infants are faced with the task of developing trust in their caregivers and the world around them. Successful resolution of this stage leads to a development of a basic sense of trust and security. Dr. Diane E. Papalia, I hope I say that right, a renowned developmental psychologist, highlights the importance of consistent and responsive caregiving during this stage, stating, "Infants who have consistent, sensitive, and responsive caregivers learn to trust that their needs will be met." An example of this is, let's say baby Emma is provided with warm and attentive care by her parents. They promptly respond to her cries, provide nourishment, and create a nurturing environment. as a result, Emma develops a sense of trust and views the world as a safe and reliable place. Most often, this stage is influenced by mom, and a crucial question that the child asks and gets answered is the world a safe place? The virtue they gain is hope. And as we move to the next stage, we take with us the ability to depend on and relate to others. But if a child does not develop a sense of trust and security due to inconsistent or neglectful caregiving, they may develop trust issues and have difficulty forming healthy relationships later on in life. Notice I said inconsistent. Each child is different, and enough caregiving is different for different children. If parenting is difficult for you, I encourage you to seek the help that you need. And if you know someone with a so-called, quote, hard baby, please reach out to them and become part of their village. Offer to cook or clean or grocery shop or whatever may be supportive. You have heard it before, but maybe not in this context. But we are all connected, and another's suffering doesn't stay theirs for long. So we need to make this all of our issues and not just leave it up to mom. The second stage is autonomy versus shame and doubt. Usually this is in early childhood, from the ages of 2 to 3 years, really. And think about some of the things that happen in this stage. They learn self-control and independence through potty training. This is where potty training comes in, and they start to have some independence or some autonomy over their body. They also start to get preferences for food and clothing, and we all know that, and we all kind of maybe fight against that as they're pushing through this stage. It's kind of our crisis along with theirs, but it's an important developmental stage. And the question that we ask ourselves in this stage is, am I capable of doing things? And usually both mom and dad are really influential here. Whether they help us or don't, the opinions that they have we start to take those on as ourselves. And the virtue we gain is will. As we move to the next stage, we take with us the assurance that we can do things ourselves. In this stage, children seek to develop a sense of autonomy and independence while exploring their environment. Dr. Lawrence Kohlberg, a prominent psychologist, emphasizes the importance of supportive and nurturing environments during this stage. He says, the child who feels competent to be autonomous and take control of their environment is more likely to develop a sense of self-confidence. And at 2 and 3, I don't know if we provide moments for autonomy to happen. And when we don't provide moments for autonomy to happen, then we're also taking away the opportunity to develop a sense of self-confidence. So an example is little Max, 4-year-old Max. He's encouraged to dress himself and make simple choices and engage in age-appropriate tasks. His parents provide guidance and support, allowing him to develop a sense of autonomy and self-confidence. If a child's need for independence and exploration is excessively restricted or discouraged, they may develop feelings of shame. They may doubt their abilities and struggle with decision-making and assertiveness as adults. Too often, we want children to adhere to rules that may be correct for older children, but not appropriate in younger years. Younger kids will make messes, and they will break things. Natural consequences are much better teachers than no and disapproving looks or disappointment. Stage 3, we have initiative versus guilt. Usually this is in the preschool age years. And during this stage, children begin to assert control over their environment and explore their expanding capabilities. A leading expert in child development explains, children who are encouraged to take initiative in their play, creativity, and decision-making develop a sense of purpose and direction. In stage 3, the family is very influential. So we will see a lot of brothers and sisters, grandmas and grandpas, cousins start to influence this stage. And the question that we ask ourselves in this stage and get an answer to is, am I good or bad? And we take with us the virtue of purpose. So when we move into the next stage, we take with us the idea that we matter to the world. So think of those 3 to 6-year-olds, and if they're on timeout all the time, or if they're getting in trouble all the time, are they getting the message of, am I good or am I bad? In stage 4, we look at industry versus inferiority. The neighbors and school become very influential. Our world starts to open up. And we navigate social and academic demands and develop a belief or doubt in one's ability. We ask ourselves, what am I good at in this stage? And we take with us competence. And as we move into the next stage, we take with us a sense of pride and identity. In this stage, children strive to acquire new skills and develop a sense of competence in various domains, including academics, sports, and social interactions. Dr. Carol Dweck, a renowned psychologist, emphasizes the importance of fostering a growth mindset during this stage, stating, children who believe in their capacity to learn and grow through effort develop a sense of industry and resilience. An example is a 10-year-old Ethan who is encouraged to take on challenging tasks, explore different subjects, and pursue hobbies. His parents provide support and emphasize the value of effort, leading him to develop a sense of industry and competency. If children do not receive recognition or encouragement for their efforts and accomplishments, they may develop an inferiority complex, feeling inadequate and incapable in comparison to others. Again, their effort is just as important as their accomplishments. They will accomplish more for the rest of their lives if this stage's needs are met, if in these years their effort is rewarded as much as their accomplishment. Is that acceptable in later stages? Maybe not. But we kind of require that of children at this age, and maybe that's something to question. Stage 5, we learn identity versus role confusion. This is usually in adolescence. And of course, our peers become very influential in the stage. A sense of self and personal identity are found or buried through social relationships and experiences. We ask ourselves, do I belong? Am I accepted? And we get a yes or no answer. And we take with us loyalty, which I think is fascinating, so that when we move into the next stage, we take with us fidelity to ourselves and those we care about. We are loyal to who we are, and that doesn't mean we have to take it away from, we can be loyal and supportive of others. During adolescence, individuals embark on a quest for self-identity and grappling with questions of who they are and their place in the world. So an example is 16-year-old Maya. She explores her interests, values, and aspirations while seeking a sense of identity. She engages in self-reflection, explores various activities, and gradually develops a clearer sense of who she is and what she wants in life. If teenagers are unable to explore and develop a sense of self, they may experience role confusion, not knowing who they are or what they want to become. This can lead to difficulties in forming a stable identity and making appropriate life choices. I think this must be a difficult one. Teens are able to communicate well, and they appear self-sufficient, but their brains are still in development. So we must see through that in this very stage where they are supposed to be grappling with questions. They're supposed to be wondering about things and trying things out. Too often, when they're grappling with questions, we are enforcing answers. And then we are frustrated that the younger generation are without purpose. In stage 6, this is young adulthood, and they call it intimacy versus isolation. Partners and close relationships are the influence here. And the question we ask ourselves is, am I wanted and loved? And we gain that virtue of love. And as we move to the next stage, we take with us the strength of love and connection. In this stage, young adults seek to form deep and meaningful relationships with others. Dr. John Bowlby, a pioneering figure in attachment theory, states, "Intimacy is the capacity to be open, vulnerable, and emotionally connected with others. Those who develop this capacity build lasting and fulfilling relationships." An example is 25-year-old Alex, who actively seeks emotional connections and forms healthy and intimate relationships. They embrace vulnerability, trust, and open communication, leading to the development of fulfilling connections with others. If individuals have not successfully resolved earlier developmental stages, they may struggle with intimacy, trust, and emotional vulnerability, resulting in difficulties in establishing and maintaining healthy relationships. Here is when we begin to see the effects of missed earlier stages. We can slide through this stage blaming others and circumstances, and in the next stage, a crisis will most likely hit. Stage 7 is generosity versus greed. And here our workplace and home life influences us. And we ask the question and get the answer to, can I add value to the world? And we take with us care. And as we move into the next stage, we take with us the results of our success or failure. During middle adulthood, individuals focus on contributing to society, nurturing others, and leaving a meaningful legacy. An example is 45-year-old Sarah, who devotes her time to mentoring younger colleagues, engaging in community service, and raising her children with love and guidance. She finds fulfillment in making a positive difference in the lives of others. If individuals have not developed a sense of purpose, contributed to society, or nurtured others, they may experience feelings of stagnation, a lack of fulfillment, and even despair. I believe in this stage, when our biology wants us to look outward and join in serving humanity, if we have missed multiple developmental stages, then we will turn inward and become self-focused. This to me speaks to the rise in narcissists, or people that identify with narcissistic traits, because we can push this aside at this point in our life. In adulthood, we have the power to manipulate crisis with addiction of any type or any kind, or put more gently, with distraction. Here is where the crisis usually hits, is in this time period. And we can look back on the trust or the mistrust, the independence, the autonomy, those kind of things, and do the healing work there. Finally, stage 8 is integrity versus despair. And in this final stage, individuals reflect on their life's accomplishments and evaluate their sense of fulfillment. Dr. Laura Carstensen, I hope I said that right again, a renowned psychologist, emphasizes the significance of maintaining a sense of purpose and finding meaning in life during this stage, stating, she says, individuals who find purpose and meaning in their later years experience a sense of integrity and wisdom. An example is 78-year-old William, who reflects on his life's journey, finding contentment and fulfillment in his experiences, relationships, and contributions he has made over the years. He embraces a sense of integrity and wisdom as he navigates late adulthood. We ask ourselves, have I lived a full and meaningful life? And we are influenced really by humankind, a much broader realm of relationship. And we gain wisdom and take with us for the rest of our time all of our virtues and our integrity that outlives or outshines our physical form. It can be so enlightening and somewhat heartbreaking to feel that tinge inside of you as you study the developmental stages and see and feel what may have been missed. Hopefully, it sends you on a healing journey, because don't you want to feel that you have integrity with yourself and know your life has meaning? That's what we're working toward. It isn't just because you have done things. You may have done plenty of things, but it isn't just because you have done things that gives you a life of integrity if you don't feel that way. You may have to take a detour to address your mistrust or your shame to get back to that place of integrity. This journey is the one we hope to support you on at the Wholeness Network. I've put a link in the notes for a graphic that explores these 8 areas, and you're welcome to download that for free as you embrace all of who you are and who you are not. You both begin a journey of wholeness and express wholeness in the very same moment. We invite you to thewholenessnetwork.com, where you'll find the Wholeness Library. Inside, you'll find tutorials, downloads, mini classes, and all sorts of streaming content for you on your wholeness journey.